All right, so our stickles is all dry, so we're ready to start working on the card base. So this piece of cardstock here is 5.5 by 8.5, as if you were cutting for a quarter fold card. But what we are going to do is we are going to score it at the 4-inch mark and the 8-inch mark. So our finished card size is actually going to be 4 inches by 5.5, which is a little bit narrower than a normal quarter fold card, but you can still put it in a regular sized envelope, and that is why the piece to insert in the middle is 3 3/4 inches wide. That way it's got some room. So this 1/2 inch flap here, I'm going to put some adhesive on, but we're not going to do anything with it at the moment. We're just going to put it on there so it's ready to go when we need it. My image piece can get glued to the front of the card. So I'm just using Distress Collage Medium for this. You could also use the same Sukwang that was used for the side part here. I like to use the Distress Collage Medium, or my second favorite is Tombow Mono Multi, because a liquid glue just gives you a little bit of leeway. If something is not quite right when you put it down, you can kind of shimmy it in place. All right, so typically I'd wait a few minutes for that to dry, but I'm going to just continue on because I don't think I need to really move anything for this. For the next part, you're going to want a ruler, and I'm going to mark it at the 1/2 inch mark here, or not 1/2 inch, the halfway mark there, which is 2 inches. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to use a circle punch, and I'm going to punch out a notch. And that little mark there gives me an idea of the halfway point. So then, even though I eyeball it, I know how close I am to the halfway point. There we go. And now that I've got those top 2 done, I'm just going to do the same thing and include the back part of the card. There we go. So now I want to put my slide in there for the slide part of the card. And for that, you need to have a trimmer that has a slide blade on it. So this one here has a bit of a ruler on the side here. So I am putting the edge of my card with the 1 inch mark. I am starting about 3/4 of an inch, sorry, not 3/4 of an inch, about 1 inch from the end. I was seeing the wrong measurement there. And then I'm stopping 1 inch from the top. So we're 1 inch in, we start 1 inch from that end and end 1 inch from this end. So then we've got our slot there. And it easily cuts through the 2 layers of cardstock. Put that to the side. And now I have, this is just a scrap of cardstock from when I was cutting things down. Like I said before, I always keep my scraps, and they're perfect for this. It only needs to be about 1/2 inch wide. It doesn't need to be any wider than that. So I'm putting it through. I'm just trying to make sure that it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to take a piece of tape. This is going to come off when we're done. This strip doesn't need to be that long, so I'm going to cut that shorter. It just needs to glue to our piece here. It doesn't need to be any longer than that. So while that is down there, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to put some tape down, and I stop my tape about 1/4 inch from that slit in my card front. You don't want to put it right up to the edge, or else that adhesive is going to start to interfere with the sliding up and down. So once that's there, I can take my adhesive off. My embossed piece needs to be up here by my the part where I I lost English there. The part where I cut the slit there. So I want to be able to pull this. I'm going to take this off because it's glued down now. See how we're able to pull that up? So you want your embossed piece by that little notch there so that that's the first thing that comes out. So there we go. Now that that is all together, I'm just going to put that in just a touch just because it moved a little bit while I was sliding it. But it is always a good idea to test things first. So now that I know that it slides up properly, I'm going to take the end of my tape off. Much easier if it's sitting on your table to do that. And the easiest way to do this is not taking the entire piece of tape off. My little paper there is inside that flap there because I don't want to be gluing this down to the flap. Putting my edge where I want it, and then I'm going to pull this gently and push the adhesive down as I take it off. And that way I can ensure that it stays straight the entire time and I don't accidentally glue something where I don't want it to go. Now that this is all glued in there, I'm going to take a hole punch and I'm going to do the bigger side of my punch here. This is a crocodile and it actually has two options for hole punches, a smaller one and a bigger one. I chose the bigger one. And I'm going to take some ribbon. And this just gives it a bit of a pull tab to pull on. If you happen to have a stamp that says pull, you could use that too. Or if you have something where you could kind of create a different type of tab, that would work as well. You just want to give your recipient some sort of idea that this is meant to pull out. And that ribbon pretty much does it, in my opinion. Once you've got your ribbon on there. And what I just did, in case you didn't see it, I put a loop through the hole and then I put my ends through that loop and it just secures it right on there. You could just put one end through and then just tie it twice and have it knot that way. That would work as well. There we go. Always test in between to make sure that everything is running smoothly. And then last step is to put my Santa and sleigh that is on the clouds onto it. Once again, I keep away from that the slot here. Typically it's about 1/4 of an inch where I stayed away. That was more about 1/8 of an inch. Because this card width is 4 inches, you can actually go a little bit outside of the card there with your reindeer, because it will still fit into a standard size envelope. And there you go. Now I didn't glue this end in together. If you wanted, you could, when you had it all open, when you glued this down, you could put some adhesive there to glue it closed, but I always just leave it open. I don't mind it open, but there you go. So our card is completely done. You could write on there, if you're putting in a personal message or whatever, you could write on there, or you could write on there or on the back of the card. So now we've got a slide that goes from left to right, and then you know how to do one that pulls up. And this one, I'm not going to show you how to do it, but now you know exactly the mechanism behind it. You could also do one that goes down and have a fall card with leaves falling down the trees. There you go. So now you know how to create a slider card. They're really quite easy once you learn the mechanism and how it works. And you can do it with stamps, you can do it with dies. Have fun with it.